ex-wife arrived in a black private jet, but he never invited her. Now the billionaire CEO panics as his wedding ends before it began. It was in an ultra-exclusive wedding estate. 500 elite guests. Crystal chandeliers hanging from ancient oak trees. The kind of wedding that costs more than most people's houses. Billionaire CEO Lucian Ashworth stands at a jasmine-covered altar, looking like he stepped out of a magazine. Perfect tuxedo, perfect hair, perfect everything. His bride-to-be, Victoria, glides down the aisle in a dress that probably funded a small country. Everything is flawless. Then the sky starts rumbling. Not thunder. Something else entirely. The string quartet's violins screech to a halt. Crystal glasses rattle on reception tables. Heads turn upward, shielding their eyes from the California sun. A sleek, obsidian-black private jet cuts through the clouds like a knife, banking hard, descending fast, heading straight for the estate's private runway. Lucian's face goes white as paper. He knows that jet. The engines roar louder, drowning out the gasps from 500 shocked guests. The jet touches down with a screech that echoes across perfectly manicured lawns. And here's where it gets interesting. Have you ever had someone from your past show up at exactly the moment you thought you were safe? Before we go further, let us know where you are watching from in the comment and subscribe to my channel, because going forward I have got something extra special for you, and you don't want to miss it. Now, sit back and enjoy this story. Because what steps off that jet is about to destroy everything Lucian thought he had under control. The jet's engines wind down, but the damage is already done. The wedding has stopped breathing. 500 of the world's wealthiest people sit frozen in their gilded chairs, watching a scene that wasn't in the program. A black SUV rolls up to the edge of the airstrip. The door opens. First, a man steps out, tall, calm, wearing a suit that costs more than most cars. He adjusts his cuffs like he's got all the time in the world. This is Silas Montenegro. Old money. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. But it's the second person who makes Lucian's knees buckle. She emerges from the vehicle like she owns the ground beneath her feet. Emerald green suit, hair whipping in the coastal wind. This isn't the broken woman who left 5 years ago. This is someone who rebuilt herself from ashes and came back fireproof. Leona Carvelli, his ex-wife. The woman he destroyed to save himself, and she's not alone. Walking beside her is an 18-year-old young man, dark hair, strong jawline, eyes that mirror Lucian's exactly. He moves with quiet confidence, like he's walked into boardrooms his entire life. The guests erupt in whispers. Phones appear from designer purses. This isn't just a wedding anymore. It's a social media catastrophe in real time. Lucian's mother, Mirabelle Ashworth, shoots up from her front row seat like a steel trap springing open. Her face is a mask of aristocratic rage. "What is the meaning of this?" she hisses to a security guard. "Get them off my property, now." But Lucian can't move, can't breathe, can't process what his eyes are telling him. Because 5 years ago, when Leona left, she wasn't just walking away from him. She was walking away carrying his child. A child he never knew existed. Victoria, his bride, follows his stare. She sees the boy, sees Lucian's face crumble, sees the mathematical impossibility of coincidence. "Julian," she whispers. Her voice cuts through the chaos like a blade. "Who is that?" He can't answer. Can't lie. Can't pretend this isn't happening. Leona starts walking across the manicured grass, each step deliberate, unhurried, like she's crossing her own estate instead of crashing someone else's wedding. The boy walks beside her. His eyes scan the crowd with curiosity, not fear. He's been raised to belong anywhere, to own any room he enters. "Leona." Lucian's voice cracks like he's 16 again. "How did you find you?" She stops 20 feet away, close enough to be heard, far enough to maintain her power. "Your wedding's been plastered across every society page for months. Hard to miss." Her voice is different now, stronger. There's steel in it that wasn't there before. "You look surprised to see me," she continues. "Shouldn't be. This is a small world when you're rich enough." The young man beside her studies Lucian, with the kind of intensity that makes grown men uncomfortable. He's sizing up his father, taking measurements, drawing conclusions. "Mom," the boy says quietly. "Is this him?" Leona's smile is sharp enough to cut glass. "Adrian, meet Lucian Ashworth, CEO of Ashworth Global, heir to billions, your biological father." The words hit the crowd like a tsunami. Gasps. Camera flashes. The sound of a perfectly orchestrated wedding imploding. Victoria takes a step back from the altar. Then another. The diamonds around her neck catch the light as she processes the magnitude of the lie she's been living. "You have a son," she says to Lucian. "It's not a question. An 18-year-old son, and you never told me." Maribel Ashworth storms across the grass, flanked by 2 security guards. Her designer heels sink into the soft earth with each furious step. "This is a private event," she announces, her voice carrying across the stunned crowd. "You're trespassing. Leave immediately, or I'll have you arrested." Leona doesn't even glance at her, keeps her eyes locked on Lucian. "Your mother always had such beautiful manners," she says. "Still treating people like insects she can step on." "How dare you?" Maribel snaps. "Security, remove these people." But Silas Montenegro steps forward. When old money speaks, even security guards listen. "Mrs. Ashworth," his voice is silk over steel, "I'd reconsider that order. This young man has every legal right to be here. Family has a way of showing up at the most inconvenient times." Adrian looks between the adults like he's watching a tennis match. Finally, he speaks. "So, you're my father." His voice is calm, measured. "The one who signed papers saying I didn't matter, the one who chose corporate image over his own blood." Lucian flinches like he's been slapped. "I didn't know," he whispers. "I swear to you, I didn't know you existed." "But you knew Mom was pregnant." "No, I didn't. She left before. She left because you let your mother destroy her." Adrian's voice rises slightly because when it mattered, you stood at a window and did nothing. The crowd is eating this up. Phones record every word. This will be trending within the hour. Victoria walks back to the altar. Her wedding dress rustles like disappointed dreams. "Lucian, look at me." Her voice is steady, terrifyingly calm. He turns. His face is the color of old bone. "For 2 years, she says, "I asked you if your heart was free. You said yes, every single time. But there was always something, an echo, a hesitation. Victoria, I can explain." "No," she holds up a hand. "I asked you if there was anyone else. Anyone from your past. You looked me in the eye and said no." She reaches up and unclasps the diamond necklace he gave her, sets it gently on the altar like she's laying flowers on a grave. "I won't perform devastation for an audience," she says. "I'm not heartbroken. I'm disappointed. I deserved a man whose whole soul was in the room." The silence is deafening. "You deserve the chance to figure out what you actually want before you ask someone else to build a life with you." She looks at Adrian, at Leona, back at Lucian. "I think this is where you were always supposed to be. I hope you're brave enough to do it right this time." Without another word, Victoria turns and walks down the aisle, her head high, her dignity intact, leaving Lucian standing alone in the wreckage of his carefully constructed life. The guests watch her go, some with sympathy, others with the kind of fascination people have for beautiful disasters. Lucian's legs give out. He drops to his knees in the grass right there in front of everyone, in front of the cameras, in front of his mother, in front of the son who's been watching him with judgment in his eyes. "Adrian," he whispers. The young man doesn't move closer. "That's my name, the one Mom gave me, because she was the only parent I had." Leona places a protective hand on her son's shoulder. "We didn't come here to destroy your wedding," she says to Lucian. "We came here because Adrian has been asking questions about his father, about why he grew up without one, about whether you even knew he existed." "And now I know," Adrian adds. "You didn't know because you didn't fight for the chance to know. You signed papers. You chose the easy way out. You abandoned us before we even had a chance to exist in your world." Lucian looks up at his son, at the strength in his posture, at the intelligence in his eyes. At 18 years of life, he'll never get back. I was wrong, he says. His voice breaks on the words. I was 26 and terrified, and I made the worst decision of my life. You were old enough to know better, Adrian replies. And now I'm old enough to decide whether I want anything to do with you. The cameras keep rolling. The story keeps writing itself. And somewhere in the chaos, a family that never was might finally have a chance to become what it should have been all along. Mirabelle Ashworth's face has gone from aristocratic rage to something approaching panic. She spent 18 years believing she'd successfully eliminated a threat to her family's legacy. Now that threat is standing on her lawn, wearing a designer suit and carrying her grandson's DNA. This is ridiculous, she announces to anyone still listening. One DNA test, that's all it takes to settle this nonsense. Adrian turns to look at her for the first time. Really look at her. His grandmother. The woman who orchestrated his parents' destruction before he was even born. You want a DNA test? His voice carries a confidence that makes the adults around him uncomfortable. I've got something better. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a manila envelope. Thick, official looking. Medical records, birth certificate, and yes, a DNA test. Taken 6 months ago when I turned 18 and decided I wanted answers. He tosses the envelope at Lucian's feet. 99.7% match? Congratulations. You're definitely my father. The crowd leans forward like wheat in wind. Everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to know what happens when a billionaire's carefully constructed world explodes in real time. Silas Montenegro watches from the sideline with the expression of a man who's seen this movie before and knows how it ends. I tried to talk her out of coming, he says to no one in particular. Told her you weren't worth the jet fuel. Lucian looks up from the grass. His tuxedo is stained. His perfect hair is ruined. Everything about him screams defeated. Silas, you've been taking care of them. Someone had to. Silas steps closer. When a pregnant woman shows up at your door with nothing but a suitcase and her dignity, you don't turn her away. Especially when she's running from your former friend's toxic family. You knew about Adrian this whole time? I watched him take his first steps, helped him with his homework, taught him to drive, walked him through his first heartbreak. Silas's voice is measured, but there's steel underneath. I did everything you should have done. The words hit Lucian like physical blows. Leona hasn't moved from her position 20 feet away. She's watching the scene unfold with the detachment of someone observing an experiment. Tell him about Stanford, she says to Adrian. The young man straightens. Full scholarship, computer science and business. I start in the fall. Tell him about your company. I designed a logistics app when I was 16. Sold it for $12 million last year. Lucian's mouth falls open. Tell him about the foundation. I run a nonprofit that provides technology training to underprivileged communities. We've helped over 3,000 people get jobs in tech. Each accomplishment lands like a hammer blow. This isn't just any 18-year-old. This is a young man who's inherited every ounce of his father's business acumen and his mother's moral compass. He did all of this, Leona says, without a penny of Ashworth money, without the Ashworth name. Without anything from you except DNA. Mirabelle Ashworth has been listening to this recitation of achievements with growing horror. A brilliant, accomplished grandson. One who could have been the perfect heir to the Ashworth empire. One she threw away because of her prejudice and need for control. Adrian, she says, her voice softer now. You're my grandson. My blood, whatever happened between your parents, that doesn't change the fact that you're an Ashworth. Adrian turns to face her fully. His expression is politely curious, like he's examining an interesting but irrelevant artifact. Actually, my name is Adrian Carvelli Montenegro. Silas adopted me when I was 10. Legally, officially, with my full consent. The words hit both Ashworths like a freight train. I wanted a father's name on my documents. Adrian continues. Someone who showed up to parent-teacher conferences. Someone who remembered my birthday. Someone who didn't need a DNA test to prove he cared about me. Lucian makes a sound like he's been gut-punched. But, Adrian says, I also wanted to know where I came from, which is why we're here. He looks around at the destroyed wedding scene, at the guests still recording everything on their phones, at the catering staff standing frozen with trays of untouched champagne. I wanted to see the man who chose a corporation over a family. Wanted to look him in the eye and understand what kind of person does that. And? Lucian's voice is barely audible. You're smaller than I imagined. The crowd winces collectively. This 18-year-old is dismantling a billionaire with surgical precision. Adrian? Leona's voice carries a warning. We agreed. No cruelty. I'm not being cruel, Mom. I'm being honest. He's not some evil mastermind. He's just weak. A weak man who let his mother make his decisions for him. Mirabelle Ashworth bristles. How dare you speak to your father that way? I raised him to understand responsibility, to protect this family's interests. By destroying other families? Adrian asks. By framing innocent people for crimes they didn't commit? By using threats and blackmail to control your son's personal life? He pulls out his phone, scrolls through something, shows the screen to Mirabelle. See, the thing about being raised by tech people is you learn to research everything. I know about the espionage charges against Mom's father. I know they were fabricated. I know you had them dropped the minute Mom signed the annulment papers. Mirabelle's face goes white. I also know about the private investigators you hired to track her after she left, the ones who reported back that she was pregnant, the ones who told you exactly where we were living. Lucian struggles to his feet. What? You knew, Adrian says to his grandmother. For 18 years you knew I existed. You knew where I was. You chose to pretend I didn't matter, because acknowledging me would mean acknowledging your son's cowardice. The revelation spreads through the crowd like wildfire. Phones capture every word. This isn't just a wedding disruption anymore. It's a full-scale family nuclear explosion. That's not true, Mirabelle says, but her voice lacks conviction. Adrian shows his phone to Lucian now. Investigator reports. Dated from when I was 3 months old through last year. Photos of me at school, at science fairs, at graduation. Your mother has documentation of my entire childhood. Lucian looks at his mother with an expression of complete betrayal. You knew? You've known about my son for 18 years and you never told me? I was protecting you, protecting this family. That woman was never suitable. That woman is the mother of your grandson, Lucian roars. His voice carries across the entire estate. Your grandson, who just told us he sold a company for $12 million. Who's going to Stanford on a full scholarship. Who runs a nonprofit that helps thousands of people. He's shaking now. 18 years of suppressed guilt and rage finally finding an outlet. You stole my son from me. You stole 18 years of his life from me. You let me believe I was protecting Clara by staying away when you knew she was raising my child. I did what was necessary. You did what was evil. The word hangs in the air like a curse. You committed an evil act and convinced me I was being noble. Leona watches this confrontation with satisfaction. Not cruel satisfaction. The satisfaction of someone watching the truth finally surface after years underwater. Mom, Adrian says quietly. I think I've seen enough. She nods. Are you ready to go home? Almost. He looks at Lucian one more time. I didn't come here for revenge. I came here for closure. I wanted to understand what I was missing, whether I should feel sad about growing up without you. He pauses, studies his father's broken expression. I don't feel sad, he says simply. I feel grateful, because if you'd been in my life, I might have turned out like you, weak, controlled by fear, unable to stand up for the people I love. The words are delivered without malice, which somehow makes them more devastating than any insult could have been. Instead, I got Silas. I got a mother who built an empire while raising me alone. I got strength. He turns to leave, then stops. But if you ever decide to become the man you should have been 18 years ago, you know where to find us. The silence that follows Adrian's words is deafening. 500 elite guests sit frozen, watching a family implode in real time. This isn't entertainment anymore. It's witnessing something sacred being torn apart and rebuilt in the same breath. Lucian stands in the ruins of his wedding, staring after his son. His perfectly pressed tuxedo is wrinkled. His face is streaked with tears he doesn't remember shedding. Everything he thought he knew about his life has been revealed as a lie. Adrian, wait. The words tear from his throat like a confession. The young man stops but doesn't turn around. Please, just give me 5 minutes, 5 minutes to explain. Explain what? Adrian's voice is tired now. Explain how you let your mother threaten an innocent man with federal prison. Explain how you signed annulment papers without fighting. Explain how you never once tried to find us. Lucian takes a step forward, then another. Moving slowly like he's approaching a wounded animal. I was 26 years old. I thought I was a man, but I was still a boy. Still afraid of disappointing her. He gestures toward Mirabelle, who's watching this scene with growing horror. I convinced myself that walking away was protecting your mother, that if I stayed my family would destroy her completely. Instead, you destroyed her anyway, Adrian says. Just slower, more cowardly. Yes. The admission comes out broken. I destroyed everything good in my life because I was afraid to fight for it. Leona has been silent through this exchange, but now she steps forward. When she speaks, her voice carries the authority of someone who survived hell and came out stronger. Adrian, your father was weak, but he wasn't evil. There's a difference. She looks directly at Lucian. Evil would have been knowing about you and choosing to ignore you. Weak was letting someone else make that choice for him. I should have fought, Lucian says. The moment she threatened your father, I should have called her bluff. Should have hired lawyers. Should have protected you both. Yes, Leona agrees. You should have. But you were scared of becoming a disappointment to a woman who sees people as chess pieces instead of human beings. Mirabelle Ashworth can't stay silent anymore. Everything I did was for this family. For the legacy your grandfather built, for the future generations, for yourself. Adrian's words cut through her justification like a blade. You did it because you needed to control everything, including who your son loved. He finally turns around, facing the 3 adults who've shaped his existence in different ways. See, here's what I learned growing up without you, he says to Lucian. I learned that love isn't about control. It's about freedom. Mom could have poisoned me against you, could have filled my head with hatred and bitterness. He looks at Leona with deep affection. Instead, she told me you made a mistake. She said people sometimes choose fear over love, and that's tragic but not unforgivable. I told you the truth, Leona says softly, that your father was a good man who made a terrible choice. And Silas never tried to replace you, Adrian continues. He made sure I knew I had a biological father somewhere. Made sure I understood that adoption didn't erase biology. Silas Montenegro speaks for the first time in several minutes. A child deserves to know where they come from, even when where they come from is complicated. Lucian looks at his former friend with something approaching gratitude. You raised my son better than I could have. I raised him with love, Silas corrects. The same way you should have been raising him. The weight of 18 lost years settles over the scene like fog. Birthday parties never attended. Baseball games never cheered. Graduations never celebrated. A childhood that happened entirely without him. I can't give you back those years, Lucian says to Adrian. I can't undo the damage my cowardice caused. But I need you to know that not a single day has passed where I didn't think about your mother. Where I didn't wonder what would have happened if I'd been brave enough to fight for us. Thinking isn't the same as doing, Adrian points out. No, it's not. But it kept the guilt alive. It kept me from ever being completely happy with the life I built after she left. He looks around at the destroyed wedding scene, at the guests still recording everything, at the remains of a day that was supposed to mark a new beginning. I've spent 5 years trying to convince myself I was content, trying to build something real with Victoria. But you're right. Part of me was always somewhere else, always wondering. And now you know, Leona says. Now you've seen what you missed, what you gave up. The question is, what are you going to do with that knowledge? Before Lucian can answer, his phone starts buzzing. Then everyone's phones start buzzing. The social media explosion has begun. Video clips of the wedding crash are already going viral. #Ashworth wedding crash is trending. #Billionaire baby drama is picking up steam. The board, Lucian mutters, looking at his phone. Emergency meeting, the stock is already dropping. Adrian laughs. Actually laughs. You're thinking about stock prices right now, while your son is standing in front of you for the first time in 18 years. No, Lucian looks up from his phone, sees the disappointment in Adrian's eyes, makes a choice. He powers off his phone, drops it in the grass. The board can wait, the stock can wait, everything else can wait. It's a small gesture, but Adrian notices. For the first time since stepping off that jet, he looks slightly less certain of his father's character. I built a life without you, Adrian says. A good life. I have parents who love me. I have opportunities. I have purpose. I don't need you to complete me. I know. But I also don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering what kind of man you really are underneath all this. He gestures at the estate, the destroyed wedding, the chaos. So here's what's going to happen. He pauses, and for a moment he sounds older than 18, wiser than his years should allow. You're going to prove yourself. Not with money, not with gifts, not with grand gestures, with consistency, with showing up, with earning the right to be called my father instead of just my biological donor. Lucian nods eagerly. Yes, anything. Tell me how. I don't know how yet. That's something we'll figure out if you stick around long enough. Adrian looks at his mother. But it's not just about me. You hurt Mom. You let your family treat her like garbage. If you want any relationship with me, you need to make that right too. Leona shakes her head. Adrian, I don't need. Yes, you do. His voice is firm but gentle. You've been carrying this alone for 18 years. You built an amazing life for us, but you never let yourself heal from what they did to you. He looks between his parents. Two people who loved each other once, who created him in that love, who were torn apart by fear and manipulation. I'm not asking you to get back together. I'm asking him to acknowledge the damage he caused, to take responsibility for his choices, to stop blaming his age, or his mother, or his fear. Lucian turns to face Leona fully for the first time since she stepped off that jet. Really looks at her, sees the strength she's built, the empire she's created, the woman she became after he broke her heart. I'm sorry, he says. The words are simple, but they carry the weight of 18 years. I'm sorry for being weak when you needed me to be strong. I'm sorry for letting my mother's cruelty stand unchallenged. I'm sorry for making you carry the consequence of my cowardice alone. Leona studies his face, looking for sincerity, looking for the man she once loved underneath the wreckage of the boy who betrayed her. Sorry doesn't rebuild what was broken, she says finally, but it's a place to start. Is starting enough? Lucian asks. For now? For now, she agrees. But Adrian's right, you have to prove yourself, not just to him, to me, to everyone you let down when you chose the easy path over the right one. How long do I have? As long as it takes, Adrian answers. That's what real love is. It doesn't have deadlines or conditions. It just shows up every day until trust is rebuilt. Then I'll show up, Lucian promises, every day, for as long as it takes. The sun is beginning to set over the destroyed wedding. Golden light filters through the oak trees, casting everything in warm amber. In the distance, catering staff quietly clear tables that were never used for their intended purpose. "We should go," Leona says. "We've disrupted enough lives for one day." "Will you?" Lucian's voice breaks slightly. "Will you let me know how to reach you, both of you?" Adrian exchanges a look with his mother. She nods slightly. "We'll be in touch," Adrian says. "When we're ready." As Leona and Adrian begin walking back toward the black jet, Mirabelle Ashworth makes her final desperate play. She's watched 18 years of careful planning crumble in the span of an hour, and desperation makes people dangerous. "Wait!" she calls out, her voice carrying across the estate with imperial authority. "Just wait 1 minute." The small group stops, turns. Mirabelle approaches with the measured steps of a woman who spent decades commanding rooms full of powerful men. "Adrian," she says, her tone shifting to something that might pass for grandmotherly warmth if you didn't know better. "You're my grandson, my blood. Whatever mistakes were made in the past, that doesn't change the fact that you're an Ashworth." Adrian tilts his head, studying her with the same clinical interest a scientist might show a particularly toxic specimen. "Actually, I'm a Carvelli Montenegro. Remember? Silas adopted me. Legally. With my full consent. Legal papers can be changed," Mirabelle says smoothly. "You could take your rightful place in this family. The Ashworth legacy, the company, everything your grandfather built could be yours someday." "You mean everything he built while exploiting workers and destroying the environment?" Adrian's response is casual, conversational. "I've done my research on Ashworth Global, grandmother. Fascinating reading. The way he says grandmother makes it sound like a diagnosis rather than a relationship. Every empire requires difficult decisions," Mirabelle deflects. "Your grandfather understood that. Your father understands that. Someday you could understand it too." "I already understand it. I understand that some people build empires on the backs of others. And some people build something better." He pulls out his phone, shows her the screen. "This is my nonprofit's latest quarterly report. We've trained 4,000 people in the last 6 months. Helped them get jobs that pay living wages. Created opportunities that didn't exist before." "That's admirable. But think bigger. With Ashworth resources behind you, you could help millions." Adrian laughs. "It's not a kind sound. With Ashworth resources, I could become exactly like you, thinking I'm helping the world while actually just accumulating power." Lucian watches this exchange with growing understanding. His son isn't just intelligent. He's morally sophisticated in a way that makes the adult corruption around him look primitive. "Mirabelle," Lucian says quietly. "Stop. He's your heir," she continues, ignoring her son. "Your legacy. Don't you understand what we could build with his mind, his capabilities? I understand that you're looking at him like a chess piece instead of a person. The same way you looked at Clara. The same way you've always looked at me." Lucian's voice grows stronger as he speaks. "You're doing it right now, in front of everyone. You can't help yourself." "I'm thinking about this family's future." "No. You're thinking about control, about bending other people to your vision of what they should be instead of accepting who they are." Adrian nods approvingly. "He's learning." "It's too late for learning," Mirabelle snaps, her grandmotherly mask finally slipping. "Do you know what this little display has cost us? The stock is down 12%. The board is calling emergency meetings. Our reputation." "Our reputation," Lucian interrupts, "was built on lies and cruelty. Maybe it's time for it to crash." The words hang in the air like a declaration of war. Mirabelle stares at her son like she's seeing a stranger. "You would destroy everything for them? For people who abandoned you years ago?" "They didn't abandon me. I abandoned them. There's a difference. You were protecting this family." "I was protecting myself from your disapproval, from having to stand up to you, from having to be a man instead of a frightened boy." Lucian looks around at the wedding guests, still seated in their chairs, still recording everything. 18 years of therapy happening in real time for the entertainment of high society. You know what? He says, loud enough for everyone to hear. Good, let it all crash, let the stock tank, let the board panic, let our reputation burn. He walks closer to the crowd, addressing them directly now. You all want a show? Here's your show. My name is Lucian Ashworth. I'm 31 years old, and until today I was a coward. I let my mother manipulate me into destroying the only real love I'd ever known. I signed annulment papers to protect a corporate image. I abandoned a pregnant woman because I was too weak to fight for her. The crowd is dead silent. Phones capture every word. My son is 18 years old. His name is Adrian Carvelli Montenegro. He's brilliant, accomplished, and morally superior to anyone in my family. He built a multi-million-dollar company while I was playing corporate games. He runs a nonprofit that actually helps people while I was accumulating wealth. He looks back at Adrian, who's watching this confession with something approaching respect. He doesn't need me. Doesn't need my money, or my name, or my legacy. He's already better than anything I've ever built. Lucian, stop this, Mirabelle hisses. You're embarrassing the family. The family embarrassed itself the day it chose power over people. The day it decided that love was a liability instead of a strength. He turns back to the crowd. I'm done protecting an empire built on emotional cowardice. Done pretending that accumulating wealth matters more than maintaining relationships. Done being afraid of a woman who taught me to fear love instead of fight for it. The words are liberation and devastation rolled into one. Every bridge burning. Every safe harbor destroyed. Adrian exchanges a glance with his mother. This isn't what they expected when they stepped off that jet. You know what the ironic part is? Adrian says, his voice carrying in the golden evening air. I probably would have forgiven you years ago if you'd just tried. If you'd made any effort to find us, to apologize, to acknowledge what you'd done. I thought about it, Lucian admits. Every year on your birthday, every Christmas, every time I saw a kid your age, I wondered. Thinking isn't doing. No, it's not. But it kept the door open. It kept me from moving on completely. Victoria knew. She always knew part of me was somewhere else. He looks around for his former bride, but she's long gone. Smart woman. She saw the writing on the wall and preserved her dignity. What now? Leona asks. It's the first time she's spoken in several minutes. Now I figure out how to be the man I should have been 18 years ago, Lucian answers. Starting with dismantling the toxic system that created this mess. You can't be serious, Mirabelle says. I'm completely serious. I'm going to restructure Ashworth Global from the ground up. Fair wages, environmental responsibility, corporate ethics that actually mean something. The board will never approve. I have controlling interest. The board works for me, not the other way around. Adrian nods slowly. Interesting, prove it. How? Start with the workers your grandfather's policies displaced 30 years ago. The communities Ashworth Global destroyed while building its empire. Make amends that cost something real. Done. Start with proper wages for every employee, top to bottom. No more poverty-level salaries while executives get million-dollar bonuses. Done. Start with environmental restoration. Real restoration, not tax write-off publicity stunts. Done. Adrian studies his father's face, looking for sincerity, looking for the resolve to follow through on promises made in emotional moments. And if you backslide, if you revert to corporate cowardice the moment this gets difficult, then you'll know what kind of man I really am. And you'll have your final answer about whether I deserve a place in your life. The sun is setting behind them now, casting long shadows across the destroyed wedding. In the distance, staff continue cleaning up a celebration that never happened. We really should go, Silas says gently. The jet crew is on a schedule. Adrian nods but doesn't move immediately. He's still studying Lucian like he's trying to solve a complex equation. One last thing, he says finally. Anything. Don't contact us. Don't call or email or show up at our house. When we're ready to see if you're serious about change, we'll reach out to you. How will I know when? You'll know, because the changes you make will be public. Your company's practices will be visible. Your choices will speak louder than any words. Adrian pauses. And if you're serious about this transformation, if you actually become the man Mom needed you to be 18 years ago, then maybe we can figure out what kind of relationship we want to have. And if I fail, then this was closure for all of us. The black jet's engines spool up as Adrian, Leona, and Silas walk across the tarmac. Each step takes them further from the wreckage of what was supposed to be the social event of the season. Behind them, 500 elite guests sit in stunned silence, their phones full of footage that will dominate headlines for weeks. Lucian stands alone in his ruined tuxedo, watching his family disappear into the sky for the second time in his life. But this time feels different. This time he's not letting them go. He's being given a chance to earn them back. Mirabelle Ashworth approaches her son with the careful steps of a general whose army has just mutinied. "You've lost your mind," she says. "Do you understand what you've just done? What you've promised them?" "I've promised to become someone worth knowing," Lucian replies without looking at her. "Something I should have done 18 years ago. Those changes you promised, restructuring the company. Fair wages, environmental programs. Do you have any idea what that will cost?" "Less than what my cowardice has already cost." The words hit Mirabelle like a physical blow. She's spent decades shaping her son into the perfect corporate heir, and in the span of 2 hours, he's dismantled everything she built. "I raised you better than this. Taught you to think with your head, not your heart." "You taught me to be afraid," Lucian corrects. "Afraid of disappointing you, afraid of making decisions you wouldn't approve of, afraid of being human." He finally turns to face her fully. "I'm done being afraid, Mother, of you, of the board, of change, of admitting when I'm wrong. And what about me? What about everything I've sacrificed for this family?" For the first time in his adult life, Lucian sees his mother clearly, not as the powerful matriarch she's always presented herself as, but as a frightened woman who equates control with love and manipulation with protection. "You didn't sacrifice for this family," he says gently. "You sacrificed this family for your idea of what it should be. There's a difference." Mirabelle's composure finally cracks. "I lost your father when you were 10 years old. Everything I did was to make sure you were strong enough to handle the world without him. You made me weak, Mother. So weak that I couldn't fight for the woman I loved. So weak that I let you threaten innocent people. So weak that I abandoned my own child rather than disappoint you." The guests are beginning to disperse now, sensing that the show is over. But many linger, reluctant to leave the scene of such spectacular emotional carnage. "What do you want from me?" Mirabelle asks. For the first time in decades, she sounds vulnerable, almost small. "I want you to get help. Real help. Therapy. Someone who can help you understand why you need to control everything and everyone around you. Therapy is for weak people. Therapy is for people who want to become stronger. I'm going to start tomorrow." Mirabelle stares at her son like she's never seen him before. "You're really going to throw away everything we've built?" "I'm going to build something better. Something worthy of the grandson you threw away." "He could still be part of this family. It's not too late." "It's not too late," Lucian agrees. "But it won't happen the way you want it to. It won't happen through manipulation or bribery or emotional blackmail. It'll happen through earning his respect, day by day, choice by choice. And if you fail, if he never accepts you, then I'll fail knowing I tried to become someone worthy of acceptance. That's more than I could say yesterday." The sun has set completely now. Staff members are lighting torches around the estate, turning the failed wedding venue into something almost magical, but the magic feels hollow, like a stage set after the performance has ended. Lucian's phone, forgotten in the grass, starts buzzing again. Then another phone. Then another. The business implications of today's events are beginning to cascade through the corporate world. The board is calling an emergency meeting, Mirabelle says, checking her device. The stock has dropped 18%. We need damage control. No, Lucian says simply. What do you mean, no? I mean, I'm not doing damage control. I'm not spinning this story. I'm not minimizing what happened here today. He walks over and picks up his phone, scrolls through the dozens of missed calls and frantic text messages. Board members demanding explanations, PR firms offering crisis management, lawyers suggesting various forms of legal action. You know what I'm going to do instead? He holds up his phone. I'm going to call a press conference. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to tell the entire business world exactly what kind of company Ashworth Global has been, and exactly what kind of company it's going to become. Lucian, please, think about what you're saying. I've been thinking about it for 18 years, Mother. I just haven't been brave enough to act on it until now. He starts walking toward the main house, then stops and turns back. You have a choice to make. You can be part of this transformation, or you can fight it. But understand that if you choose to fight it, you'll lose. I have controlling interest in the company, and I have something I've never had before. What's that? A reason to be better. A son who's watching to see what kind of man I really am. Mirabelle watches her son walk away, and for the first time in decades, she realizes she has no power to stop him. 3 months later, the Ashworth Global Headquarters building gleams in the morning sun, but everything inside has changed. The executive floor, once a monument to mahogany and marble excess, has been transformed into something warmer, more human. Lucian sits in his office, reading quarterly reports that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. Employee satisfaction up 40%. Turnover down 60%. Environmental impact scores improving monthly. Stock price down 30% and holding steady. He considers it a fair trade. His assistant, Maria, knocks on the open door. She's new. The previous assistant quit when Lucian eliminated the practice of executives having personal servants. Mr. Ashworth? There's someone here to see you. Says he doesn't have an appointment, but that you'll want to see him. Lucian looks up from his reports. Who is it? Adrian Carvelli Montenegro. For a moment, the world stops spinning. 3 months, 3 months of radical corporate restructuring. 3 months of therapy sessions that left him emotionally raw. 3 months of wondering if his son was watching, if he was measuring up, if he was becoming someone worth knowing. Send him in, Lucian says, his voice steady despite the earthquake happening in his chest. Adrian walks into the office like he belongs there, confident but not arrogant, observant but not judgmental. He's wearing jeans and a Stanford t-shirt, looking every inch the brilliant college student he is. Nice office, he says, glancing around at the simplified decor. Very different from the photos I've seen online. Different from a lot of things, Lucian agrees. How are you? How's school? School's good, challenging. I'm double majoring now. Added environmental science to my computer science degree. Planning to save the world. Planning to fix some of the damage previous generations caused. Adrian's tone is matter of fact, not accusatory. Speaking of which, I've been following your company's changes. Here it is. The judgment. The verdict on 3 months of painful transformation. And, Lucian asks, interesting moves. The wage restructuring alone must have cost millions. The environmental restoration projects are ambitious. The worker retraining programs are actually helping people. Adrian sits down in the chair across from Lucian's desk. Of course, it's also tanked your stock price and pissed off most of your board members. Some things are worth more than stock prices. Are they? Because I remember 18 years ago, You chose stock prices over family. The words hit like a physical blow, but Lucian doesn't flinch. Yes, I did. And it was the worst decision of my life. Why is it different now? Because now I know what I lost. Now I've seen what you became without me. Now I understand that legacy isn't about money or power. It's about the people you lift up along the way. Adrian nods slowly. The factory workers in Ohio. The ones your grandfather laid off in the 80s when he moved production overseas. You hired them back. Not all of them. Some had passed away. Some had moved on. But the ones who wanted to come back, yes? At higher wages than they were making before. At wages they can actually live on. With full benefits. With profit sharing. That must have been expensive. Less expensive than continuing to exploit them. Adrian leans forward slightly. What about the environmental cleanup in Louisiana? The chemical spill your company covered up 20 years ago. Lucian's stomach tightens. That investigation had been particularly painful. Discovering the extent of his family's corporate malfeasance had been like opening a wound that went to the bone. We're fixing it. All of it. Full remediation plus compensation for affected families. Even though the statute of limitations had run out. Even though you could have walked away. Especially because we could have walked away. Legal doesn't mean right. Adrian sits back in his chair, studying his father with those sharp, intelligent eyes that miss nothing. Mom says you've been calling her once a week to ask about you, to see how you're both doing. She usually doesn't answer, but sometimes she texts back. What do you talk about? I tell her about the changes I'm making. Ask if there's anything she needs, apologize for things I should have apologized for years ago. Does she forgive you? Not yet. Maybe not ever, but that's not why I call. Why do you call? Because she deserves to know that I understand what I took from her, that I'm trying to become someone who wouldn't make those choices again. Adrian nods again. He's been taking notes, Lucian realizes. Mental notes. Scoring points, measuring progress. The therapy, how's that going? Harder than rebuilding a corporation. Turns out facing your own cowardice is more painful than facing a hostile board. What have you learned? That I spent 31 years trying to earn my mother's approval instead of figuring out who I actually wanted to be. That I confused financial success with personal worth. That I was so afraid of disappointment that I became completely disappointing. The honesty hangs between them like a bridge, fragile but real. I also learned that love isn't something you earn through achievement. It's something you earn through consistency, through showing up, through proving that you can be trusted with someone's heart. Is that what you're trying to do? Earn our love? I'm trying to earn the right to try to love you. There's a difference. For the first time since walking into the office, Adrian smiles slightly. That's a good answer. They sit in comfortable silence for a moment. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city bustles with afternoon energy. People living their lives, pursuing their dreams, carrying their own burdens of love and loss. I have something for you, Adrian says finally. He reaches into his backpack and pulls out a thick folder. Sets it on Lucian's desk. What is it? A business proposal. My nonprofit wants to partner with Ashworth Global on a new initiative. Lucian opens the folder, his hands shaking slightly. Inside are detailed plans for a nationwide program combining job training, environmental restoration, and community development. It's brilliant, comprehensive, the kind of program that could change thousands of lives. This is incredible, he breathes. The scope, the planning, the potential impact. It would require a significant investment from your company and a long-term commitment, not just money, but executive time, board approval, stakeholder buy-in. Consider it approved. You haven't even seen the budget projections. I don't care about the budget. This is exactly the kind of work we should be doing. Adrian tilts his head. Even if it costs millions, even if it takes years to show a return on investment? The return isn't financial. The return is proving that business can be a force for good instead of just a force for profit. And if your board objects, then they can find new jobs. I told you 3 months ago that I was done choosing corporate image over doing what's right. Adrian closes the folder and leans back in his chair. This wasn't really a business proposal. What? It was a test. I wanted to see if you'd really changed, or if you were just performing change until the heat died down. The words hit Lucian like a revelation. His son hadn't just been watching from a distance. He'd been actively measuring, testing, verifying. Did I pass? You passed this one, but there will be others. Real situations where you'll have to choose between profit and principle. Where doing the right thing will cost you more than you want to pay. I know. And when those moments come, I'll be watching. We'll be watching. Good. I want you to watch. I want you to hold me accountable. Adrian stands up, slings his backpack over his shoulder. I should go. I have a flight back to school this evening. Adrian, wait. Lucian stands too. Does this mean, are we okay? Are we going to be okay? It means we're starting, really starting, for the first time. Is that enough? It's enough for now, but understand something. Adrian's voice becomes serious. I'm not a little kid who needs a daddy. I'm 18 years old. I've been taking care of myself and my mother for my entire life. If you want to be part of my life, you have to earn a place in it as it exists now, not as you wish it had been. I understand. Do you? Because being my father isn't going to be about teaching me to throw a baseball or helping me with homework. It's going to be about being someone I can respect, someone I can trust, someone who adds value to my life instead of just taking up space in it. The challenge hangs in the air between them. I'm ready for that, Lucian says. I want to be that. Then prove it every day, in every choice, until trust becomes habit. Adrian heads toward the door, then stops. One more thing. Mom wants to see you. Lucian's heart stops. She does? Tomorrow lunch, neutral location. She'll text you the details. Is she ready to forgive me? She's ready to see if forgiveness is possible. There's a difference. Adrian? Yeah. Thank you for giving me this chance, for testing me, for not giving up on the possibility that I could become someone better. Don't thank me, yet thank me in 10 years if you've proven you can sustain this. If you've shown that change wasn't just a performance but a real transformation. And if I can't sustain it, then you'll have your answer about what kind of man you really are, and so will I. With that, Adrian walks out of the office, leaving Lucian alone with the weight of possibility and the terror of failure. But for the first time in 18 years, the terror feels productive. It feels like motivation instead of paralysis. He picks up his phone and does something he hasn't done in 3 months. He calls his mother. Mirabelle Ashworth, she answers formally. Mom, it's me. Adrian was just here. Silence. He's testing me, measuring whether the changes are real, and tomorrow I'm having lunch with Leona. More silence. I wanted you to know that I'm going to keep doing this. Keep changing. Keep becoming someone worthy of their respect, with or without your approval. Lucian. But I also want you to know that if you ever decide you want to be part of this transformation instead of fighting it, there's a place for you. A place where you can meet your grandson not as a chess piece to be moved around, but as a remarkable young man who might be willing to love you if you can learn to love him without trying to control him. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I, but I'm learning, and you could learn too if you wanted to. What would that look like? It would look like apologizing, really apologizing, to Leona for the cruelty, to Adrian for the years of denial, to me for the manipulation. And then we figure out how to be a family that builds people up instead of tearing them down, a family that creates love instead of demanding it. Another long silence. I'll think about it, Mirabelle says finally. That's all I can ask. After hanging up, Lucian walks to his window and looks out at the city. Somewhere out there, his son is preparing for a flight back to college. Somewhere out there, the woman he loved and lost is deciding whether forgiveness is possible. Tomorrow will bring new tests, new opportunities to prove that change isn't just a performance, but a fundamental shift in who he is. His phone buzzes, a text from an unknown number. Cafe Belmont. Tomorrow. 1 p.m. Come alone. Leona. After 3 months of brief, careful text exchanges, she's ready to sit across from him. Ready to see if the man who destroyed her trust can become someone worth trusting again. Lucian sets the phone down and returns to his quarterly reports. But the numbers blur together. All he can think about is tomorrow. About facing the woman whose heart he broke. About proving that 18 years of regret have taught him something worth learning. The office grows quiet as staff members head home to their families. Families they can support now because of the wage increases. Families who don't have to choose between rent and groceries because their CEO finally learned that employee welfare matters more than executive bonuses. As darkness settles over the city, Lucian makes a decision. He's going to document this journey. Not for PR purposes or damage control, but for Adrian. For the son who's watching every choice. For the young man who deserves to understand how his father went from coward to, well, he's still working on what comes after coward. He opens his laptop and begins typing. Day 94% of attempting to become someone worth knowing. The next day, Cafe Belmont. Lucian arrives 15 minutes early, choosing a corner table where they can speak privately. The cafe is busy with the lunch crowd, filled with the comfortable noise of people living their normal lives. People who don't have to rebuild their entire identity from scratch. At exactly 1 o'clock, Leona walks through the door. She's even more striking than she was 3 months ago. Success suits her. Confidence radiates from every step. This isn't the broken woman who left his estate 18 years ago. This is someone who took her pain and forged it into strength. She spots him immediately. Approaches with the measured pace of someone who's learned to trust carefully. Lucian, she says, sliding into the seat across from him. Leona, thank you for coming. I almost didn't. What changed your mind? Adrian. He thinks you might actually be serious about changing. I wanted to see for myself. The waiter appears, takes their orders. Coffee for both. Neither seems interested in food. When they're alone again, Leona studies his face with the analytical precision of someone who's learned to spot deception. You look different, she observes. Older. More. Present. Therapy has that effect. Turns out facing your demons ages you faster than avoiding them. Is that what you've been doing? Facing demons? Among other things, I've been learning why I was such a coward. Why I let fear drive every important decision in my life. Leona nods slowly. And what have you learned? That the first spent 31 years trying to earn my mother's love instead of learning to love myself. That I confused financial success with personal worth. That I was so afraid of failure that I failed at everything that actually mattered. Those are words, Lucian. Adrian showed me your company's new policies. Those are actions. But words and actions don't always translate into character change. You're right to be skeptical. I destroyed your trust completely. I don't expect you to rebuild it based on 3 months of corporate restructuring. Then what do you expect? Time. Patience. The chance to prove that I can be consistent. That this isn't a performance, but a fundamental shift in who I am. The coffee arrives. Leona wraps her hands around the warm cup, a gesture so familiar it makes Lucian's chest ache. He remembers winter mornings in her tiny apartment, watching her do exactly this while they planned their future together. I built a life without you, she says quietly. A good life. Adrian has everything he needs. Silas has been more of a father to him than you ever were. We don't need you to complete us. I know. But Adrian has questions. About where he comes from. About what kind of man his biological father really is. And I realized that keeping you away wasn't protecting him anymore. It was protecting me. From what? From the possibility of being disappointed again. From trusting someone who might choose convenience over courage when things get difficult. Lucian sets down his cup. I will disappoint you again, not intentionally, but I'm human. I'll make mistakes. The difference is that now I understand the cost of those mistakes. Now I have something worth fighting for. Which is? The chance to be in my son's life. The chance to prove that love is stronger than fear. The chance to build something real instead of just accumulating things. Leona takes a sip of her coffee. What do you want from me, Lucian? Forgiveness eventually, but not yet. I haven't earned it yet. What else? The chance to make amends, real amends, not just words, but actions that demonstrate understanding of the damage I caused. Such as? I've established a scholarship fund. Full rides to Stanford for single mothers pursuing graduate degrees. It's endowed with $50 million. Leona's eyebrows rise slightly. That's significant. It's named the Clara Restoration Fund, after you, after the work you do healing damaged landscapes, because that's what you did after I broke your heart. You healed. You grew. You became something beautiful. For the first time since sitting down, Leona's composure cracks slightly. You can't buy forgiveness with scholarships, Lucian. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm trying to create something meaningful from the wreckage of my choices, something that honors what you built while I was feeling sorry for myself. And if I never forgive you, if I decide that trust isn't rebuildable, then Adrian will still have a father who's trying to be worthy of him. And you'll still have the peace of knowing that your choice to leave led to positive change in the world. They sit in silence for several minutes. Around them, the cafe hums with ordinary conversations about ordinary problems. Work stress, weekend plans, family dinners, the simple complications of normal life. I need to ask you something, Leona says finally. Anything. Why now? Why this dramatic change after 18 years of accepting the status quo? Lucian considers the question carefully. Because for 18 years, I told myself that walking away had been the noble choice, that I'd saved you from my mother's cruelty by not fighting for us. But when I saw Adrian, when I saw what he'd become without me, I realized I'd been lying to myself. How so? I didn't save you from anything. I abandoned you when you needed me most. I let my mother's threats work because it was easier than standing up to her. I chose my own comfort over your safety. And that realization changed everything? That realization destroyed everything. Every story I'd told myself about being a good man, every justification for my choices, every comfortable lie that let me sleep at night. He pauses, searching for the right words. Seeing Adrian was like looking into a mirror that showed me not who I was, but who I could have been, who I should have been. It broke something in me that needed to be broken. Leona nods slowly. Silas said something similar after the wedding. He said you looked like a man who'd finally seen himself clearly. Silas was always perceptive. How is he handling all this? Better than I expected. He loves Adrian like his own son. He's not threatened by your presence because he knows his place in our lives is secure. He's a better man than I am. He's a different man than you are. Whether you become better is still an open question. The directness of her assessment stings, but Lucian recognizes it as fair. Everything he's claiming to be remains theoretical until tested by real situations, real choices, real consequences. What would convince you? He asks. What would it take for you to believe that change is real and sustainable? Time. Consistency. Proof that when faced with difficult choices, you choose love over fear, choose people over profit, choose courage over convenience. How much time? However long it takes. Real change doesn't happen on schedules, Lucian. It happens through patterns. Through proving day after day, year after year, that you can be trusted with what matters. And in the meantime, you keep showing up. You keep making choices that demonstrate growth. You keep becoming someone worthy of Adrian's respect. What about us? Is there any possibility of us? Leona is quiet for a long moment. When she speaks, her voice is gentle but firm. I loved you completely once, believed in you absolutely. When you signed those papers, it didn't just end our marriage. It ended my ability to trust that kind of love. The words hit like a physical blow, but Lucian forces himself to hear them. I understand, but she continues. I've learned that healing is possible. That broken things can sometimes be repaired into something different but still valuable. I don't know if that applies to us. I don't know if it's even something I want. But it's not impossible? Nothing's impossible. But it would require you to prove not just that you've changed, but that you've changed into someone I could trust with my heart again. That's a much higher bar than just being a good father to Adrian. I understand the difference. Do you? Because being Adrian's father means showing up consistently, making good choices, proving you can be reliable. Being someone I could love again means proving you can protect what's vulnerable, that you can fight for what matters even when fighting is hard. I want to prove that. Both of those things. Then prove it, not with words or grand gestures or expensive scholarships. Prove it by becoming someone who chooses love over fear every single day. Someone who stands up to bullies instead of appeasing them. Someone who fights for people instead of abandoning them when things get complicated. She finishes her coffee and reaches for her purse. I should go. Adrian's expecting me to call him after this. Leona, wait. Will I see you again? You'll see me when Adrian wants you to see me. When family events happen. When decisions need to be made about his life. But whether you see me beyond that depends entirely on who you become in the spaces between those moments. She stands, then pauses. One more thing. Thank you for the scholarship fund. Whatever your motivation, it will change lives. That matters. It was the right thing to do. Yes, it was. Keep doing right things. Even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching. With that, she walks away, leaving Lucian alone with his coffee and the weight of possibility. He pulls out his phone and opens the document he started the night before. Day 95% of attempting to become someone worth knowing. Today I had lunch with a woman whose heart I broke 18 years ago. She didn't forgive me. She shouldn't. But she didn't close the door either. She gave me something more valuable than forgiveness. She gave me a roadmap to redemption. He pauses, then continues typing. The path is longer than I hoped and harder than I imagined. But for the first time in 18 years, I know exactly where I'm going. I'm going to become someone worthy of the love I threw away. Someone worthy of the son I abandoned. Someone worthy of the legacy I want to leave behind. It won't happen overnight. It might not happen at all, but I'm going to try. Every day, until trying becomes being. As he walks out of the cafe and into the afternoon sunshine, Lucian feels something he hasn't felt in 18 years. Hope. Not the false hope of wishful thinking, but the earned hope of someone who's finally willing to do the work. His phone buzzes. A text from Adrian. How did lunch go? Lucian types back. It went like a beginning, which is all I could ask for. The response comes immediately. Good, beginnings are important. What happens next matters more. I know. I'm ready for what happens next. Prove it. Lucian smiles as he pockets his phone. He's been proving it for 3 months. He'll keep proving it for however long it takes. Because some things are worth fighting for. Some people are worth becoming better for. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very determined, broken things can be healed into something stronger than they were before. The long road to redemption stretches ahead, uncertain but possible. And for the first time in his life, Lucian Ashworth is walking it with his eyes wide open, his heart fully engaged, and his soul finally awake to the difference between existing and living. If stories like this move you, if they make you think about the choices we make and the people we become, let me know in the comments below. What would you do if someone from your past showed up to hold you accountable for the person you used to be? How far would you go to prove you'd truly changed? Don't don't forget to subscribe because we explore the complicated, messy, beautiful reality of human relationships every single week. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. The moral of Lucian's story is clear. You cannot secure a family legacy by abandoning the people who loved you first. Real legacy isn't built on wealth or power or reputation. It's built on love, consistency, and the courage to fight for what matters most, even when that fight costs you everything else. Sometimes the most important inheritance we can leave isn't money or property. It's proof that people can change, that love can heal, that it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be.